What up, my guys? Welcome to another show, man. Friday, NBA Talk with Jay. We got our guy Ronald here with us, man, at UCapper Sports over there on Twitter /X, whatever you want to call it, man. Welcome back to the show, Ronald. What's up with you, my brother?
Yes, sir. Yeah, no, everything's been pretty good. Has been treating me well. Man, I texted you yesterday about that. Your show, the night show you did the other day, man. I was dying when you did the Giannis impersonation. Man, I couldn't stop laughing. But yeah, man, I love coming on your show, dude. Like the whole vibe of it is always awesome.
Yeah, no, we got to we got to get you back on here every week, my guy. But yeah, no, that Giannis, that even made me laugh. You see what I'm saying? That was
You
crazy.
did it with a
Literally.
straight face. That was the biggest thing. It was just like it felt like you didn't even like know you were doing it, and it just happened.
Yeah, no, I don't know what's going on in my head sometimes. I kind of just do stuff, man. But it's all love, man. We're not here to waste the people's time, but we got about 6 games in this one, man. So
Mhm.
it's a little bit of an ugly slate, in my opinion. But let's break it down here, Ron. Let's try to find some cash, my brother. We appreciate everybody for tuning in. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Go follow us on Twitter. Go follow Ronald on Twitter, my guys. Set over to the streets of Philadelphia. First game up, the Cheesesteaks getting 2.5 points at the house versus the Atlanta Hawks in this one. Everybody's laying points these days versus the Philadelphia 76, even on the road. I mean,
Yeah.
you even got the Hawks laying points versus these guys, man. So how you looking at this game, Ronald? Line was like at 4.5. It's down to 2.5 now.
Yeah.
Hawks coming off back-to-back losses. The 76ers have obviously really been struggling without
Mhm.
Embiid. They've lost 3 straight. They've lost 7 of the past 8. Only 2-8 against the spread in their last 10 games as well. Here, Ronald,
Mhm.
what do you think happens in this game?
Yeah, it's one way that I took it. I mean, obviously the line's going towards the Philly side, but the total I think has been shifting up a little bit. So I was kind of focusing in on that. I know, team totals aren't like the most prettiest thing to bet or whatever, but I focused on that here. I think the Hawks get up and over their team total. One thing that I was looking at was on the Sixers side. This is obviously the last of a 4-game homestand. First leg of back-to-back games, though. They travel home to road. They go road tomorrow against the Wizards. Obviously not a big look ahead, but I think the biggest thing that I looked at here was what happens when Philly is without Embiid and they're on the first leg of back-to-back games. They gave up 127 to the Rockets, and to me, I think the Rockets are a solid defensive team, but not a solid offensive team. So if you give up 127 to them, it seems like a spot where anyone can put up points against them. Then they gave up 130 to the Blazers as well. So this is a situation where I feel like obviously the Sixers without Embiid play a quicker pace, right? Their defense is a little bit less lackluster because they don't have anyone really defending the paint. I got to look towards the Hawks team total over in that one. The other piece of it too is if you look at the last 5 games for both of these teams here, the Hawks are the better offensive team by far. They're actually number one in the league in offensive rating. If you look at the last 5 games, Sixers are down to 22nd in the league, and then defensively, I think the Sixers are actually 29th in the league in defensive rating in the last 5 games. So they're really struggling on both sides of the ball. But I really wanted to focus more so on the Hawks offense because I can't really trust the Hawks defense. So Hawks team total over is the way that I went here.
What number you get that at, Ronald?
Let me check.
It looks like the Sixers have gave up at least 118 points in 5 straight games, man. But
Yeah,
before that, and they even gave up 130, like you said,
I think it was like
130 to the Blazers.
1 7. Sorry, 123 and a half. Sorry, yeah, 123 and a half.
Okay, yeah, no, I
Yeah.
can't talk you off. It definitely makes sense. All Hawks games are just like an all-star game. You know what I'm saying? They
Mm,
rather than playing defense, they'd rather just get the ball back out the hoop and then try to outscore you. You know what I'm saying? Try to get down the floor quicker than you. You see what I'm saying? So
yeah.
maybe some sharp money's coming in on the Sixers. I'm not looking towards the Sixers right now. Now, this is their 4th straight home game. That does bode well for them. It's the first game of back-to-back for both of these teams. The Sixers go to Washington, D.C. tomorrow, and then the Hawks have a home game versus the Rockets. So it's just 2 teams. It's just like first off, I'm not laying points with the Hawks on the road. This team is absolutely horrible at ATS. This team is 15-36 against the spread. Like we've never seen this shit, seen a team be literally this horrible when land like just against the spread. You see what I'm saying? Let me see what they are. Oh my God, they're 2-5. They're the third worst team in the NBA. 2-5 against the spread when land points on the road as well, man. So obviously, I mean, both of these teams have been struggling. I'm not really sure what to do here, but I like the look there, Ronald,
Yeah.
with the Hawks team total over there.
One more thing to add too. I know you mentioned, how they do on the road in that situation, but if you look at it, so one thing that I looked at is the Hawks. They're 7-2 to the under when they're on the first leg of back-to-back games. But and if you look at them on the road, they tend to struggle against the spread as well. But they still average 125 points per game in that spot, even with going 7-2 to the under. So it's a situation where you kind of stay away from the spread, stay away from the full game total, and focus on what you think one team is going to do. And I think they should be able to get up and over that 123.5.
Yeah, no, it's a fact there. It's a great look there in that one, my brother. Let's go over to the streets of Toronto in this one. Raptors land 1.5 at the house versus the Houston Rockets. I know that the Rockets are without Van Fleet, but I was a little skeptical. I was a little surprised that the Raptors are laying points in this one. It was at 3 last night. Now it's come down to 1.5. I like where this is going. I know that this is a revenge spot for the Raptors here. That they just lost 135 to 106, but the Rockets have covered 4 straight in this matchup. They've covered 5 of the last 6. They've covered 8 of the last 10 as well. They've played really well versus the Raptors, and obviously those were some teams where the Rockets weren't as good. They finally have a coach. They're finally playing defense. They're coming off back-to-back losses in this one. The Raptors have only won 2 of their last 10 games. They're coming off a win versus the Charlotte Hornets. This is the first game back at the house after a 6-game road trip. They did have a day off in between there, but I feel like this is a Rockets or nothing spot here, Ronald.
Yeah.
Even without Van Fleet, I can only look towards the Rockets. This is actually like a really good dog here today, in my opinion. Rockets plus a 1.5. I think it's the right side here.
It makes sense to me. I think obviously the Rockets are rested. This is the third of a 4-game road trip. Also first leg of back-to-back games, but they're a young squad. I think they should be able to manage this type of game. But if you look at the Raptors side, this is sort of a flat spot, right? First game home of a 6-game road trip. Also first leg of back-to-back games. They actually have a more important game tomorrow against the Cavs, right? In conference opponent there. One thing that I looked at with this Rockets team, there was a period where they were dealing with injuries and they were also on the road a lot. And that's the period where they were giving up a lot of points. Like their defense started to struggle. If you look at the last few games here, I think actually more longer than the last few games, but their defense has come back to what we saw earlier on in the season when they were one of the top defenses in the league. To me, the way that I looked at this one is the Raptors also struggling offensively. Their chemistry is kind of pretty much going to be off because 2 things is, the trades, the roster changes that they've had, the travel situation going from road to home. So total flat spot for me on the offensive side of the ball for when you look at the Raptors. And the way that I tackled this one was towards the Raptors team total under. I'm definitely aligned with the Rockets being able to cover this number. I just really wanted to focus on their current form defensively and the fact that the Raptors are struggling offensively. So that led me to the team total under. One more thing to mention too. If you look at how the Raptors did on the first leg of back-to-back games off a long road trip, I looked at coming home at least 4 games on the road. They did beat the Wizards, but they failed to cover as 8-point favorites, right? They only won that game by 4 points. Then they lost outright to the Celtics by like 11. To me, I mean, obviously they're not comparable teams 1-to-1, but defensively, I think they're one of the better teams. So if they struggle offensively against the Wizards, only putting up 111, I gotta think they stay under in this one.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. Yeah, I don't know what to do with the Raptors right now, man. For a second there, I was starting to think that they were not necessarily interested in winning games. You see what I'm saying? They're out of the playoff picture right now. They're kind of close to the bottom to where if they wanted to tank for a better draft pick, they're in that position. You see what I'm saying? So I can only look towards the Houston Rockets in this one. Would love to have Van Fleet. Also, we know that the Rockets aren't the best team on the road. So if the Raptors were able to get it done, it wouldn't surprise me because the Rockets sometimes can kind of just be Jekyll and Hyde, but I do like their ceiling more than the Raptors, if that makes sense. Like it seems like at least the Rockets are trying to make the playoffs, where I'm not so sure that the Raptors are, being perfectly honest with you, man. I know that they won that game versus the Hornets, but there was almost the Hornets kind of pissing that one away. The Hornets really could have won that game. You see what I'm saying? It was kind of like the battle of the tanksters. Which one of us want to lose this game on purpose? But all this sketchy shit that the Raptors been doing, like with Quickly out, then RJ Barrett out, it just kind of shows me that they're not really interested interested in winning. So this is a really tough game. One team hasn't really shown us that they're trying to win. The other team is not the greatest on the road. Like you kind of when you win the back the Rockets, it's really like either at the house or you just stay off of them. The team is 5-18 straight up on the road, and they're 18-9 at the house, man. So could kind of make a case for both sides. So I'm definitely staying off that one, but I would lean towards the right. If I had to play it, if I had a free play on it, I'd be betting Rockets plus 1.5. Man, let's go over here, man. Ginormous spread in this one. Celtics land 17.5 at the house versus the Wizards. Simple game for me, Ronald. I'm not these next two games, man. I'm not looking towards betting these motherfuckers at all.
1-800 gambler, right?
Yeah, I'm only looking towards. I can only look towards Celtics here. I'm not looking towards betting the Wizards, like ever. Ronald.
Yeah, no, there's no way that I could back them. If you look at the Wizards' current roster, they actually don't have a center at all available because Bagley's hurt, and then they traded Gafford. This is like a weird travel spot as well, just a one-off road game, coming off 4 straight home games, and they got to go back on the road tomorrow. They play the Sixers. To me, I think the biggest impact is offensively. Recently, they just been struggling offensively. They stayed under their team total in 9 straight games, I think, and 11 of their last 12. So they're just not able to put points in the hoop, or the ball in the hoop. And then the Celtics, obviously, they're one of the better defensive teams in the league, but they've sort of been struggling as well. But there's no way that I could back the Wizards, no matter what the number is. So this is a total stay away from me. The way that I actually would tackle this would be the under. To me, this is one of those games where the Celtics could accidentally cover, or they just do enough to win the game. And if that's the case, probably slow pace, right? Not really focused on offense, and just focus on limiting the Wizards and playing. Yeah, like I said, playing a slower pace. So I would say under is the way to go here.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I would probably go. Sometimes the way I look at it, Ronald, when the teams don't really care about a game, they play less defense. You know what I'm saying? Like, because we know we don't have to play as hard. We don't have to. Now, obviously, you could go out there and just lock them down for a half, and then the second half could be very free flowing. But the way I look at it, when a team is not taking the team serious, I'm not playing top tier defense versus fucking scrubs. Now, when I know that we finna blow them out with our offense, you see what I'm saying? So that's how I would look at it. If I was to take an under, I would take Wizards team total under here. I think they might struggle to score. This is the 7th straight home game for the Celtics, so that's boding well for them. But they're only 1-5 against the spread so far on this the 6 previous games, and then they go out to Miami after this game as well. So I remember last year kind of start to figure out that when teams are on the last game of that homestand, and they're getting ready for that road trip, it's not that great of a spot. But I mean, call the 1-800 number gambler game, man. This is call a number, man. I mean, first off, we can only look towards land the points with the Celtics, but are we in a hurry to go lay 17.5 in a spot that's not so motivational? You see what I'm saying? But I don't feel comfortable with taking Wizards plus 17.5. They could get smoked by 25 points on accident, man. So I want absolutely nothing to do with this game. I'd lean towards Wizards team total under, but like I'm not, or maybe I know Celtics first half team total over has been cashing like a motherfucker all season. Just take their team total in the first half. Let me just see real quick what it is here, Ronald. What Celtics first half team total over is at 65. It says 65.5 or 66. So if I had one top play in that game, I would take the Celtics first half team total over 65.5 or 66. I think that's the best look there, Ronald.
One more thing to add, because I see the chat popping off on the over. Just one thing that I looked at that kind of led me towards the under. If you look at the Celtics as double-digit favorites with a higher total, because most of their totals are a little bit lower, but if you look at games where it's greater than 235, they're actually 5-0 to the under, and it doesn't matter how much they score. It's the fact that they're limiting their opponents in these games, because obviously if they're double-digit favorites, they're looking at a higher number on their side of the ball. To me, it's just their defense in this game, focusing on that. And the fact that the Wizards don't have a single center, they're not going to be able to rebound the ball offensively. The Celtics play a slower pace, so if they get the ball back on the offensive boards, they're just going to run the clock a little bit longer. I mean, they're not in a rush to beat this team, because they could really do it without Tatum, without all these other guys. So that's just my thing to add to that, is the fact that higher totals as double-digit favorites, every single one of those games have gone under.
Yeah. I'd lean towards Celtics. First half, team total over 65.5. That would be my best play in that game. Let's go over to the streets of Milwaukee in this one. Bucks land 14 at the house versus the Charlotte Hornets in this one. Man, it was a fire sale over there in Charlotte. You see what I'm saying? They don't have PJ Washington anymore. Obviously Gordon Hayward wasn't fucking playing anyway, so they're not gonna really miss him because he's probably played like 30% this season here. But you probably need to see what's up with Dame in this one. But I mean, I could. It's these are simple games here. I'm only looking towards Bucks. I'm not looking towards taking the Hornets plus the points. This team is not serious about playing basketball. I mean, this shouldn't be news to you if you've watched this team. Brandon Miller can ball. I mean, they have a few balls on the team, but they just got rid of Boak Knight. They just waived Ish Smith. Like, I'm not sure who's going to run the backup point guard. Just team is very unserious. I'd be looking towards Hornets team total under. This is a game that the Bucks can work on their defense here and rotations, but we know that they need a confidence boosting win. We know that they need a blowout win, and just what the doctor ordered up to face up against the Hornets here. So we know the Bucks are going to finally get off that losing streak. Just depends on how much they win by, but can only look towards Hornets team total under and possibly the Bucks. I mean, I'm not laying 14 with the fucking Bucks, but it's the only way I can look here, Ron. I'm not. The Hornets are a very unserious basketball team.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Like I can only look towards the Bucks as well, but yeah, the number is tough because obviously the Hornets, they lost 9 in a row. They covered the last 2 games, but I think this is a totally different situation with the Bucks and how they are right now currently in their current form. Like you said, they got to use this game as some type of push towards the second half of the season. Yeah, exactly, exactly. Yeah. I mean, I know they've been struggling. They've struggled, especially on the when they're double-digit favorites. But if you look at this Hornets squad, man, they lost PJ Washington, LaMelo's out, Mark Williams is out. I don't know. They got a couple guys who can ball, right? They got Cody Martin's coming in. They got Brandon Miller. They got Bridges there and all that stuff. They got guys who can ball, but together as a team, like even when they had the best players in, they still couldn't put things together. So I think overall, I can only look towards the Bucks. But yeah, just this number in general is a stay away from me because Bucks are 2-11 ATS as double-digit favorites. When they play lower tier teams, I looked at teams under 400. They're 15-4 straight up, but 4-15 ATS. So yeah, this number is just too nasty to take. But definitely not going to look towards the Hornet side.
Yeah, no. So they only got a couple players that you trust over there. Like if you want to look at props, Miles Bridges is going to get a ton of minutes and a ton of he's going to put up points. And Brandon Miller has been balling as well. This team does not have a point guard on the team, guys. I'm telling you this. So Boak Knight, which I mean he wasn't the greatest player anyway, and Ish Smith, but they waived both of them yesterday. So they're Cody Martin, if I'm not mistaken, he's questionable here, but he's nothing like his brother Caleb. But not even that. So he's a shooting guard. He's going to be their starting point guard. They don't have a single point guard coming off the bench, guys. I don't see how the Hornets, they might not eclipse 100 points in this game, to be perfectly honest with you. I can only look towards Hornets team total under, whether Dame Lillard plays or not. This should be a Bucks game as long as they come out playing serious and want to get a big win. That means you obviously got to play some defense here, but the Hornets might not get past 100 points. I'd heavily lean towards Hornets team total under. Not a single point guard, no really facilitator out there, and they just shoot a ton of ill-advised threes as well. I think Hornets go under their team total under in that one, my guys. Let's go over to the streets of Sacramento on this one. Kings land 2.5 at the house versus the Nuggets in this one, Ronald. Kings coming off a game where they were laying double digits and lost the game outright to the Detroit Pistons in this one. Now, in theory, this is the bounce back spot. I'd lean towards Kings here, but I don't necessarily agree with them laying 2.5. I know the number was like at +1, -1 last night, so it looks like obviously some money coming on the Kings. I do think it's a Kings or nothing spot, but I'm just kind of worried about the Kings. I'm almost really trying to map out the rest of the season to see which one of these teams are going to miss the playoffs. And I'm thinking about it, if the Warriors are getting in there, the Kings might drop out of the playoff picture. It sounds crazy as hell. I know they got Fox as a bonus, but losing games like Detroit is why I say that. You see what I'm saying? So I lean towards the Kings in the spot. If they lost it outright, it wouldn't surprise me one bit, Ronald. So that's enough for me not to take. Because if they did lose, I guess what I'm saying, this is a toss-up game. I do lean towards Kings, but if they did lose, I wouldn't be surprised at all, Ronald. What you got in this game?
Yeah, and like you brought up the Kings versus Pistons game. I was actually on the Pistons that game. Just one of the reasons why was sort of that sandwich spot, right? They just played Cleveland, and then they got the Nuggets on deck. Obviously, this is a much more important game for them, and that's probably the reason why they didn't really look focused in that game. But the Nuggets, they're coming off of that battle yesterday against the Lakers. I mean, I think obviously they won by like 8 points, but it was a lot closer towards the end of the game than it really was. So to me, that's sort of like an emotional win, in my opinion. Also, within these two teams here being in the same conference and being in the top upper tier of the Western Conference, like this is more of like a playoff atmosphere type game. And when you think about those games, they tend to play slower pace and they also play a little bit better defense. If you look towards the Nuggets side, that's exactly what they've been doing in recent weeks. Their offense hasn't been clicking, but their defense is strong. They're playing with the slowest pace in the league. I think it's just when I looked at last 10 games, it's only like 94. I think their pace is like 94. Everybody else is like way, the Kings are like at 101 or something like that. So definitely a game of, who's going to manage the pace here. But playoff atmosphere type games are typically slower. And then from the Kings side, I think what I've seen from them is, the way that their recent form is, they just really don't look that focused, especially on the offensive side of the ball. And then, to me, if the Nuggets are controlling the pace, this should be an under type game as well. It just kind of pushes it a little more to that side. It's definitely not a great spot playing the back-to-back, but they have been winning these games for the Nuggets, 6-3 straight up in the second leg of back-to-back games. They're just not covering the spread. To me, like I said, I think the under is the way to go in this one, or even look towards the Kings side a little bit towards them, especially with the Nuggets on the second leg of back-to-back games. I know they've been winning them, not covering them. This is a weird spot for me. Just looking towards the Kings or the under in this one. The situational spot tells me both sides, but model says one way. So kind of a stay away, but lean towards the Kings in the under.
Yeah, I ain't fucking with no under with the Kings, man. And I know for sure, like when teams on the back to back playing the Kings, it's just one team. Like they might not play a ton of defense, but they're gonna run and go. It's one of those teams that they're like, so it's okay for you to score because they hurry up getting the ball out of the hoop and then trying to race your ass down the floor. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So but it's just not the same situation because the Nuggets had just had 3 days off before yesterday's game, so it's not a third game in 4 nights for the Nuggets in this one. Nuggets are definitely the better team. I do think the Kings are somewhat frauds this year. I'd like to bet them in a spot, but like I say, if they lost this game outright, it would not surprise me one bit. If they're gonna miss the playoffs, which I think it's a very good chance, they might start dropping these type of games like this. Like obviously they're gonna win the games. Well, I mean, I don't know. They should have won versus the Pistons. Like those are the type of games you have to win in a tight playoff race in the West. You can't be losing games to the Pistons when you're laying 13.5 and at the house. So that just kind of tells me that something is up with the Kings this year. I do think this spot sets up well for them, but it's not enough for me to bet it, especially with them laying points as well. Like you're definitely paying the premium. We're getting to that point where odds makers are obviously adding extra points on there. Like they know the spot. So the fact it's a back-to-back is definitely a couple extra points for the Kings in this one. I'd still lean their way, but like I said, I do know that the Nuggets are the better team, and they aren't a back-to-back, but it's not a 3rd and 4. They had 3 days off the day before that, but it's a really tough game, man. Last game up, Ronald.
One more thing to add on that one, Jay. I know I know it's hard to take an under in a Kings game, but you talked about the odds makers and how they kind of look at these teams and how they do their numbers. But one thing that I looked at on the Kings side, when they have a lower total, because most of their totals are like well above 235, 240s and stuff like that. When the books have them under 235 the way they do today, they've actually been going under at a pretty decent rate. 7 of their last 9 games where the total is under 235 have gone under in Kings games, right? So that's just what I look at too, because you want to see how the books manage these teams and how well they match up against other opponents, and who's going to manage the pace here. When they put these two teams together, it looks like the books are saying the Nuggets should control the pace here and go under.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. That's a great point there, Ronald. Last game up. Let's go over to the streets of LA in this one, man. Lakers getting 2.5 points at the house versus the New Orleans Pelicans in this one. I'm starting to bet. I might be betting the Lakers to miss the playoffs, man. I believe it's like at plus 200 right now. I might be betting the Lakers to miss the playoffs, man. This team is bad. Now, obviously, the Nuggets just own them. I still don't regret that play. I saw a bunch of people in the chat. It's just why it's so hard to do this, Ronald, because people think that every game is a banger or every game they're supposed to win. It just doesn't work like that. Like, there's going to be games, but you got to understand, pregame, was it a bet that you liked? You see what I'm saying? And it was a bet that I liked. Obviously, still pissed off and wanted to win it, but people just got to understand there's nothing to fucking like. No matter what narrative it is, it's really hard to give out picks sometimes because people act like, you get out round pick is going to win every single time. That's just not the way things happen. But I mean, the Lakers, they might legitimately, if it's going the way that I think it is, I think the Warriors will probably make the playoffs, and the Lakers have a real strong chance of missing the playoffs. I like their squad; they have a good team. They just I'm there. Sometimes they're just not really totally serious. The Pelicans are some ballers. Obviously, they're coming off a game where they beat the Clippers. I can only look towards the Pelicans in this game. They're a much better team. Obviously, they're going to play with us with Zion to all the way up to the last minute. But if Zion plays in this game, I heavily lean towards the Pelicans in this one. Obviously, the lines moved. It was +1, -1 last night, but you can still just take the Pelicans on the money line. Like, it's still room, like where if you like the Pelicans, you just take them here on the money line. They've won 4 straight games. I think the Lakers are they might be. I'm not gonna say done for the season because the season's not over, but let me just say I think there's a strong chance that the Lakers might miss the playoffs, and if they do, they're gonna start dropping these type of toss-up games like this one. I heavily lean towards the Pelicans here, Ron.
Yeah, I can only look that direction as well. To me, even at this number, the -2, my model actually still has them clearing that number pretty easily. Yeah, the Pelicans, they've been playing pretty well lately, especially on both sides. On both sides of the ball, they've actually been better than the Lakers offensively and defensively. If you look at like defensive rating stats and stuff like that, in recent form, they won 4 of their last 5 games. They covered 4 of the last 5 as well. They did play a couple of scrubs, but they also beat the Clippers outright. They kept it close against the Celtics, so they did have some pretty good matchups there. They have been traveling a little bit, first leg of back-to-back games. So, I mean, if you look from a spot perspective, it's not that great. So that's another reason why I kind of look towards the under in this game. But the Lakers' second leg of back-to-back games, obviously emotional loss, losing on, Kobe Statue Day. They've also been on the road a ton too. Yet before yesterday's game, they were on, I think it was a 6 straight games on the road. So travel situation for them too. Another thing that leads towards an under. But like you said, man, I think this is the only way that I could look is towards the Pelican side. One thing that I looked at on the Lakers, how do they do on the second leg of back-to-back games? They're only 1-7 ATS in that situation. The full game margin in those games is -9.7. So the only way that I could look is Pelicans. Trends look in that direction. Current form looks in that direction. The model looks in that direction. Everything that the Lakers have, or they do well offensively, how they score in the paint, how they do in transition. The Pelicans defend those things well. So to me, it's like a matchup thing. I think Pelicans can take this one.
Yeah, no, that's a fact. I was looking for my phone. I think Lakers to miss the playoffs might start to have. I know it's LeBron and all this shit, and you know what I'm saying, it would be huge news. But the West is super tight. I just feel like the Warriors might start to put it together, and the Lakers might really start to fold. Like with every loss with the Lakers, things just really start to pile up over there, man. So nothing for me on the Lakers. I won't be on the Lakers here for a little while. Well, really, right now, what I'm trying to see, I'm trying to notice who the fuck is finna miss it? Because if you can figure that out in the West, when it's like who's gonna make it or who's supposed to make it and who's gonna drop out, they can give you like edges on betting game to game. See what I'm saying? Like that's what I remember what I did that last year. It was the opposite. The Lakers to make the playoffs. I remember somebody pointed out to me in the chat, and we finna get out of here. We finna recap. But I remember last year, Ronald, that somebody pointed me out. It was like the Lakers are +180 to make the playoffs, and I was like, "There's no way that they're missing the playoffs this year." And with that, I mapped out the games of every one of them that they had to win to make the playoffs, and it worked out really fucking well for us. You know what I'm saying? It might be the exact opposite this year, where I think they're going to miss the playoffs, and they're at like around that +180, +200 range right now. And there's going to be games where it's like, all right, no, they're going to lose this one if they're going to miss the playoffs, and other teams are going to have to pick up some wins as well. So that's something I'm really thinking about. What's going to be my bet today? Either the Warriors to make the playoffs or the Lakers to miss the playoffs. And honestly, it's either those are probably going to go 2-0 or they're going to go 0-2. But what that means is when you're betting it, they have to, after the play-in tournament is even settled. So it could be somebody that's in the 10th seed and end up playing their way into the playoffs. It's just whenever it's finally settled, the 1 through 8, they have to be in or out. You see what I'm saying? So, yeah. And I do think if the Warriors get like they get an in-season tournament game, whether it's at the house or on the road, I do think they'll go all in and win it. They might even get Chris Paul back as well, man. So Lakers to miss the playoffs and Warriors to make the playoffs. That's what I'm looking at right now. I don't have a bet on either one of these games today, Ronald. I'm passing on today's slate. What you liking today, my brother?
Yeah, a couple of things that I like that I gave out earlier that I feel like is still playable at the current number. I think the Hawks team total over and the Raptors team total under, and then also the under in the Celtics game. I think the total's a little bit too high on that one. Obviously, we talked about how the Raptors struggle offensively and how the Rockets are playing better defense lately. And then, the Hawks, how well they're playing offensively versus how bad the Sixers are defensively without Embiid. So, yeah, those are the three plays that I feel like are still playable at the current numbers.
I like it. I like it. Yeah, I'll ride with my guy Ronald today, man. I'll be honest, I didn't like the card. It was 2-1-800 number gambler games today. If Ronald wasn't on here, I probably went to them for like 5 seconds. You see what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm definitely taking today off, man. It's better spots tomorrow, in my opinion, man. But
Mhm.
let's ride with Ronald today, man. Ronald got 3 spots. It make perfect sense to me. I'm a real fan of what makes sense in this one, man. Go check out Ronald. Go follow him on Twitter right now at UCapper Sports. Go download the Action Network app as well, man. And that's the show, man. If I'll look into tomorrow's card. I'm gonna start getting on it right now. I might have a show. I might not. If not, I'll just send the plays out to the members channel, my guys. But it's all love. We had 928 people watching live. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel, man. Join the channel as a member. Show some support, man. It's all love. And just remember, you never make a bet that you're gonna regret. You never want to make a bet. It's like the next day. You see what I'm saying? Oh, damn. Nothing is guaranteed, guys. This is still gambling. Obviously, nobody's gonna hit 100%. Every bet is basically a 50-50. Guys could get hurt during your game. So always bet accordingly. Never bet too much. Never bet your rent money, your car, no money mortgage, any of that. Never make a bet that you're gonna regret, my guy. And that's got to put that on the shirt. That rhymes. Never make a bet that you're gonna regret. I like that shit, man. It's all love. I hope everybody has a great day, great weekend, all that good stuff. Well, let's go.